Good evening, everyone. I would like to bring into session the school board meeting of the Methacton School District on September 23rd, 2014. May we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. By way of announcements and executive session reports, I do have an executive session report to read. The Board of School Directors met in executive session on September 16, 2014, following the workshop meeting for the following of discussions: for the acquisition of property, a personal matter, a student matter, the John Andrews appeal of the DCED ruling versus the district, and the conditional use hearing before the supervisors of Worcester Township. By way of attendance, we have all board members in attendance with the exception of Mr. Nascimento and Mr. Phillips. I now would like to open the floor up to public comment on board action items, please. Thank you. Mr. Andrews.
Good evening. John Andrews, Lower Providence. I just have one short item, and that is relative to the second reading on the policy on broadcasting meetings. My quick reading of that indicates that it just covers the broadcasting on two cable channels, and the district itself broadcasts via its website, and I'm not sure, I did not see that district website broadcasting in the policy, and I would recommend that be formalized if it isn't in there. And this past week, there were broadcasts on the two cable channels, but as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, the broadcasting of last week's meeting has yet to be posted to the district website. So, I think more communication is better than less communication. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Being no more public comments, I'd like to move on to number 6, appointment of new student board representatives and administration of oath of office.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce Sarah Strenchak and Gayatri Pillai, who will represent the junior class as student board representatives for the Methacton School District Directors for a term of 2 years.
Seat freed up.
You want to read the oath of office?
Yep. Okay. I think that's good. Good. All right. Should they raise their right hand? Okay. All right. Repeat after me, please. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of the office of student representative
of the office of student representative
to the board with fidelity.
to the board with fidelity.
Congratulations. Okay, I'd like to move on to recognition of guests and scheduled speakers. Dr. Zerbe.
It gives me great pleasure this evening to have a proclamation read for one of our students. We have senior Michael Duong achieved a perfect score on his SAT. What an accomplishment. Join me in giving Michael a round of applause.
All right, Michael, I'd like to read this proclamation of the Methacton School District Board of School Directors. Whereas many Methacton School District students individually and collectively perform distinguished service to their school and/or community in many ways, and whereas the reputation and image of the Methacton School District is built and enhanced by the performance of its faculty and students, and whereas the accomplishments of individual students in academic, artistic, athletic, leadership, literacy, and musical endeavors bring positive community interest in school programs. And whereas the future of any community rests in the hands of its responsible youth, and whereas Michael Duong has brought considerable recognition to his school and community by obtaining a perfect score of 2,400 in the Scholastic Aptitude Tests, a rare and significant accomplishment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Methacton School District Board of School Directors go on record this 23rd day of September 2014, honoring the spirit of this exemplary performance. Thank you. Of course. Do it. You're welcome.
A perfect score.
Wow.
The next item on the agenda, item 7.2, M Awards presentation, Ms. Judy Landis. The M Awards are the highest recognition that's bestowed upon a Methacton student. This award is primarily given to students who perform close to Michael, if not as well as Michael did, but certainly perform well academically within the Methacton community and in our school district. Ms. Landis, Ms. Barone, will you help me hand these certificates out, please?
So we have quite a few to read out tonight, approximately 132. So they're not all going to fit up front. So when you do come down and receive your certificate, if you can line up, we can do sort of photo shoots in batches. We'll just chunk this out a little bit. Okay. Amanda Amoranchet. Tanner Barone. Ryan Beal. Reshma Baylor. Caitlin Benson. Sorry, I'm going a little slower because it's very hard to see where the people are coming down to get their awards. So William Belenz. Joshua Bricky. Natalie Burkert. Christopher Carlson. Thomas Catanzaro. Caitlin Cavallo. Cassie Chen. Emily Cheng. Hannah Sharusashil. Christopher Chipman. Matthew Connolly. Gulam Contractor. Samira Daer. Sade Darby. Lauren Dean. Nicholas DeFilippis.
Congratulations, Nicholas.
Ryan Diorio. Teresa Din. Peter Ditzler. Gabrielle Doran. Lee Dungan.
That's your beginning. Sorry, hold on 1 second, I'm sorry. A little out of order for some reason. Where are we at? I'm sorry, where are we at?
Dungan.
Sorry. There's no kids again. Yeah, they're doubles. Sorry, there's doubles here.
That's the next one.
Sorry. It's okay, it's all right. Teresa,
Don't worry, you won't leave without
I'm
me,
gonna have these
right?
kids take a seat. Dan.
Are we at Gabrielle Doran?
Here we go. Okay.
All right.
Next one. Okay, is it Gabrielle?
Gabrielle? Did we already have Gabrielle? There we go. Gabrielle, I'm sorry. Leah Dungan. And Abby Dungan. Matthew DuPont. Sarah Egerter. Gabrielle Eglinton. Simon Alisi.
Congratulations.
Stephen Eubanks. Sean Farmand. Gianna Fazio. Nini Feng. Shayla Fornell. Dylan Garrett.
You're doing. Congratulations.
Cameron George.
He's got
got a test tomorrow, so I'm going to take it for him. Okay. Got a chemistry test tomorrow. Yeah, so I came for him. Yeah. Thank you.
Amy Gillette? Gillette, sorry.
Congratulations.
Sydney Goon. Okay, we'll do a quick photo op, and then we'll clear and go on to the next phase. Real quick round of applause for this group of academias. Congratulations to all of you on a fantastic first year. I look forward to seeing you next year the same time. You can go ahead. Thank you. Yes, I understand. You didn't do anything wrong. It's all good. But do you want me to make that announcement? I think they figured it out.
I think they figured out that I wasn't doing it. But now I'm double checking.
Photo ops all around.
If I could just make a real quick announcement, while we're going through the M Awards, at the conclusion of the M Awards, we just ask that we all remain seated. We have a very important presentation and announcement to make immediately following. I promise that it won't take longer than about 3-4 minutes, but we would be so kind if you would remain seated after we complete the M Awards so that we can present this award. Continue.
Zain Gouda. Amanda Groff. Vaba Gupta. Kira Hardenberg. Derek Hangamiel.
Congratulations.
Dylan Henry. Jordan Hilker. Mason Humphrey. Ryan Hunt. Mark Ivan. Anna Marie Jacob. Sarah Jones. Amanda Kylener. Jessica Keeney. Matthew Kenwood. Hope Kim. Bada Kim. Stephanie Coe. You would have thought they would have scheduled that chemistry test around this, don't you think? Alec Lanter. Albert Lee.
Congratulations.
Boris Lee. Joshua Liu. Gerald Liu. Zachary Lloyd. Trevor Lynch. Leah Malachowski. Julia Mann.
Congratulations.
Jackson Mansfield. Brett Marburger. Brendan Marion. Morgan Messino. Jacob Mathis. Ryan May. Connor McCaffrey. Olivia McCubbins. Riley McGrath. Colin McIntyre. Tatum McPhillips.
Congratulations.
Tara Maida. Bryce Merrill. Garrett Midas.
Garrett, congratulations. Thanks.
If we could have a round of applause for these outstanding young folks. Congratulations to all of you on a wonderful first year. See you here next year. Keep up the good work. I'm going to go all the way to the end on this one.
Oh, sorry. Congratulations, everyone. Keep up the good work.
Good job.
So nice. Congratulations.
It'll be great.
Okay, David Miller. Bridget Miller. Isabella Moriadian. Ruchi Malakar. Emily Mysick. Spencer Mysick. Elizabeth Knights. Sherlyn Nelson. Allison Newman. Lucas Noller. Dayun O. Patrick O'Neill. Margaret Palco. Annabella Parentis. Spencer Park. Connor Peters. Ashwin Patachuki. Sabanik Perkia Yasta. Ronald Rajan. Neha Reddy. James Reese.
James, congratulations. Thank you.
Emily Rieger. Lauren Rhodes. Ashley Seebach. Emily Shea. Alan Shen. Seamus Shields. Tyler Schrader. Madeline Smith. Maxwell Stauffer. Gregory Stimler. Matthew Stratoti.
Kathy, congratulations.
Colleen Strohline. Pavan Suresh. Harleen Surrey.
Congratulations.
Emily Sykes. Brian Ta. Elizabeth Talbot. Karina Sia. Delaney Tyson. Daniel Volpone. Ryan Walchonsky. Jessica Wang. Catherine Weisenberger.
Congratulations.
Emily Werkheiser. Brianna Wigand.
Congratulations.
Emma Wurtzel. Rebecca Woodward. Gregory Woodward. Amy Yu. Natalie Zielinski. Jennifer Chang. Matthew Chang. And ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for these outstanding young academics. Congratulations on a wonderful start. See you here next year.
As folks are making their way back to their seats, I'd like to introduce Mark Constable and members of the Education Foundation for the Methacton community to come forward.
You guys going up. Dr. Zerbe, thank you very much. On behalf of the Education Foundation for the Methacton community, we're here to present a $10,000 check for the renovation project to the Methacton School District. We know that the district is committed to this project, and we wanted to spur things along a little bit. I know there's a lot of people in the community who would like to do likewise. For your information, the young men and women who just received those academic awards, at the heart of the Methacton Foundation is that we support academics, athletics, and the arts for Methacton students. So whenever we get a donation or a grant, students apply, faculty apply, and over the years, just so you know where some of these funds have gone, some of them have been big $10,000 gifts, like helping with the renovation of the planetarium and the telescope. We helped with the environmental lab with the Electric Car Club, where they retrofitted a Tasty Cake truck. They go around and teach. They represent Methacton throughout the state of Pennsylvania. They've done a great job with that. We tried to help with smaller projects like computers for needy children. We've had a chance to work with an environmental lab over at Eagleville Elementary School. We had some acoustic music speakers for the music program. And for several programs, when the refrigerator went bad, we chipped in with some other groups. We were able to get a commercial refrigerator for the snack bar at the football field. So we try to stay true to our mission, help support academics, athletics, and the arts in Methacton, and we hope you'll join us in some of our foundation events, one of which is coming up. You might have seen something that's the 50th year. It'll be the 50th homecoming in the history of Methacton High School. Class of '64 was the 50th graduating class, and their first homecoming was 50 years ago, and they're coming back home. So we have an alumni golf outing that you can learn about through our website. That's going to be followed by that's October 24th. Then in November, we have the Warrior Run 5K. That's held here on campus. Following that, we have the Holiday House Tour. And as most of the board members joined us for the Art Corks and Forks event, which highlights student artwork. The funds we receive from those go into some of the projects that I just spoke to you about. And without a community like this and a board like this, we wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda for recognition of guests and scheduled speakers, we have on item 7.4, the 2013-14 financial statements and single audit report. We have with us this evening Linda Major and Vicki Mastro.
Good evening. If I could just start on page 1 of the financial statements is the independent auditor's report. The independent auditor's report essentially tells you what we do as auditors, and I always like to go over it because
Can I just real quick, the audit report was sent as part of your board agenda. If you have means to go on to the board agenda, you click on the audit report and it'll bring up the document that she will be referring to as she's completing her report. We just, because it's quite lengthy, it would have gone through a significant amount of paper to print out hard copy for everybody, so we felt electronically was e-friendly or environmentally friendly, so.
We'll just give folks a couple minutes here until they...
Okay.
There were no attachments. It says there are no attachments. It's back in our email. It's in the email. It's not in the agenda.
Can we open up the email?
It was also sent as a Friday update.
Please proceed.
Again, if I could start with page 1, the independent auditor's report. I like to go over the independent auditor's report because there's very often people don't exactly know what auditors do for you. So I'd like to start the first paragraph. It says, report on the financial statements. We have audited the accompanying financial statements of Methacton School District as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2014. The next paragraph is management's responsibility for the financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. The next paragraph is the auditor's responsibility. Our responsibility is to express opinions on these financial statements based on our audit. We conduct our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and standards applicable to financial audits contained in government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. That means that anyone that does your audit has to follow these standards. An audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. Procedures selected depend on the auditor's judgment. It's our judgment as we go through and we do assessments of your internal control and other areas as to what we perform. We believe that our audit evidence was obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide an opinion on our audit. Page 2. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects your financial position. This is the best opinion that you can get on an audit. It also goes on to talk about required supplementary information that's included in this document. We do not express an opinion on the required supplementary information, but it is required to be there, and we do look at it in relation to the numbers in the financial statements. There are also some other reports within here because you get federal money. So there's some other reports such as the Government Auditing Standards Report. If I can move on to page 12. Page 12 is a statement of net position. Within the financial statements, there are essentially two sets of financials. You have government-wide statements, which are on what's called the accrual basis. That means that you're booking revenue when it is earned, and expenses when they are incurred, just like you would in a business, including capitalizing assets, recording liabilities, which is different from what you would do in a fund situation. On the statement of net position, you had total current assets this year of $16,409,000, of which $11,406,000 was from cash and cash equivalents. You have non-current assets. Non-current assets are your capital assets, such as your buildings, your equipment, machinery, land, and it's all net of accumulated depreciation, and that's $110,433,000. Overall, you had total assets of $126,843,000 for the year. Then you have liabilities. You have current liabilities, which are liabilities that are to be paid within 30 days after the end of the year, or up to a year. That's $16,504,729. That includes things such as your accounts payable, accrued salaries and wages, payrolls and deductions, and your current portion of your bonds and notes payable. Then you have long-term liabilities, which were $91,175,000. Those include bonds and notes payable. It also includes other post-employment benefits and compensated absences. Your total net position for the year is $19,698,000. $19 million of that is net investment in capital assets. If I could move on to page 13.
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt. Could Troy or Michael, could someone come down and try to get us into this document? For some reason, it's not opening up. Thank you.
I apologize.
Would you like me to wait? Sure.
I mean, I hate to have you read the pages and you can't get to it.
That's okay.
We're lost.
I mean, I've got it in the zip file, I just can't get it. Nobody seems to.
Sure.
Was the attachment sent us? Okay, so you're going to have to get it from agenda, man.
It wasn't an agenda manager, it's in our email.
And they're not going to be able to get it, or is it?
Okay, thank you.
I'll forward it to myself, I'll zip it on my computer, I'll send it out to the board. Is that okay? Please. Okay.
And we'll be able to see it here now.
You will in about 2 seconds. Let me just send it to myself quickly, and I'll jump on my computer. No problem.
Where can we see it?
I'm going to send it back to you in your email, so you'll just be able to click on it in your
The
email.
agenda manager?
In our school district. So that piece of form.
Give me 1 second, please.
So that piece of form. You didn't have an email. So maybe, yeah.
Just at Acton or Acton High School.
It's a document names to the side of there. So what's the document inside the attachment that was sent to them in the fall? Financial statement draft.
That's it.
Just sent to the board the statement in a PDF format, so please check your email, and you should see one coming from me. If you click on the attachment in that email, it should be in the keyword in that statement.
What page are you up to?
Page 13.
Thank you. This is statement of activity?
Is anyone else
Yes.
having trouble? Yeah. Couldn't see it.
You didn't get the email? From Troy?
Anyone else?
Let's just share this.
Here we go.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Technology is a wonderful thing. We could start on page 13, Statement of Activities. The Statement of Activities is also a government-wide statement. As I told you before, that's on what's called the accrual basis of accounting. And what it does is it matches the expenses against program revenues. In this particular case, you had governmental activities, you expended $92,528,000 for the year. And against that, you had direct program services, charges for services of $468,000, operating grants and contributions of $11,001,000, which gave you essentially a shortfall of $81 million that you had to have general revenues cover those programs. You had property taxes, which is a general revenue of $66,051,000, earned income taxes of $6,940,000, grants and entitlements of $8,630,000. That gave you a positive change in that position of $1,765,000 for the year. Moving on to page 14. Page 14 is a fund level statement, and the accounting is a little different on the fund level. Capital assets are expenditures on the fund level, and you also don't see too much in the way of liabilities on the fund level. The biggest thing I wanted to point out on the statement was your unassigned fund balance. Your unassigned fund balance is $4,600,000. That's approximately 5.4% of your general fund expenditures. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends 4 to 8%, so you're right in that range. Page 16 is your statement of revenues, expenditure, and changes in fund balances. Again, this is a fund level statement. The biggest thing to note, you have total revenues of $94,964,000, of which $75 million comes from local sources. Your expenditures were $94,649,000. $53 million goes towards instruction, $29 million towards support services, and you have debt, principal, and interest that totaled $9,969,000. That gave you an excess of revenues over expenditures of $315,000 in the general fund for the year. If I could move forward to page 19. Page 19 is a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in net position for your proprietary fund. That's your food service fund. You had operating revenues of $1,133,000 for the year, total operating expenses of $1,373,000, which gave you an operating loss of $240,000. But then you have some state and federal subsidies, such as your school lunch program, that makes up some of the deficit. Total non-operating revenues were $330,000, which gave you a positive change in net position of $89,000 for the year. Moving forward, I'm not going to go over all of the footnotes because most of them are similar to previous years. I did want to point out on page 25, GASB pronouncements not yet effective. Starting next year, you're going to, on the entity-wide, the government-wide level, you're going to have to record a liability for your pensions. PSERS is supposed to actually give you that number, so hopefully soon you'll have some idea of how that's going to affect you. But I wanted you to be aware that that is going to show up on your entity-wide statements. Also, on page 48, risk management. I'd like to point out the school district is a participant in the Bucks and Montgomery County Schools Healthcare Consortium. This is something new from the previous year. And also footnote number 13, subsequent events. The Board of School Directors approved outsourcing district transportation to first student beginning July 1st, 2014. On August 19th, the board also approved the sale and transfer of bus titles in the amount of $1,776,000. Subsequent event is anything that is from the last day of your year to the date we issue the financial statements. Lastly, on page 52. Page 52 is your schedule of expenditures of federal awards and certain state grants. You expended $1,472,000 this year in federal funds. We tested IDA and your child nutrition cluster this year, and I'm very happy to report that we did not have any findings or question costs. Does anybody have any questions?
Could you, around that PSERS liability that's going to have to go on the balance sheet next time around, how would that, and it's hard for you to say, but how would that impact our overall Moody's rating and that sort of thing going forward for all these districts that are now going to have this huge balance on liability on the balance sheet?
It's a big question. I'm not sure that they've actually worked through that at this point. There's been a lot of talk about what they're going to do because you're all in the same boat. Everybody's going to have to book the liability. So I'm honestly not sure what they're going to do with that.
Is that going to come off the state's liability? Is it coming from the state's liability of, what, $50 billion at this point?
PSERS is, it is a state-run pension, so I'm assuming that it probably will. Honestly, I don't know how they're going to book it on the state level, but the PSERS, they're going to break down that liability across all the school districts in the state.
The other government entities? as well? I mean, because the state has a liability in that, too.
They do. So they would have to show their piece of it.
Will you be issuing a management letter?
Actually, we didn't have a management letter this year. Things, nothing really came to our attention that we felt needed to be corrected.
So have you issued management letters in the past?
We have.
Okay.
I don't remember what years, but we have issued them in the past.
Okay, thank you.
And management letters aren't necessarily just related to adjustments or anything like that. Would that be just potential suggestions for improvements or anything you see along the way?
That's correct. If we see something in internal control that we think could be strengthened or more efficient by doing certain things, then we would give the recommendation.
So I know it doesn't apply for this audited statement, but I guess for next year, you would look at the conversion for financial systems? That would be a major change as for planning for next year?
We would certainly consider that, sure.
Yeah.
Just as a clarification, and thank you for bringing up that question, we actually closed our fiscal year on our new software system. So when we converted over, as of the end of this previous fiscal year, we actually closed, booked all of our receivables, payables, et cetera, all on a new system for purposes of getting over. So you can imagine July and up until August when they came in was quite a busy time for us.
Are there any other questions?
Just one more. Do I understand that you don't use computer software to analyze problems with computer systems in the district?
We don't use, there are some softwares out there that will go in and select data. We use other means through computers, but not those particular programs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry for that little glitch.
Thank you very much. Number 8, reports. And Ollie will take the first one, Finance Committee. Preceding this meeting, we did have a Finance Committee meeting. I covered quite a few topics. Some of the highlights were we went over the draft of the budget calendar. We reviewed the 5-year budget module and also the 5-year capital model that was presented to us. And it's clearly a need now to plan for not just 1 or 2 years in a row, but a long-range plan of 5 or 6 years when considering the school district's budget. So the Finance Committee will be reviewing that, and I think this year will be even more involved with suggestions to the administration on formulating a budget for the upcoming year. It was reported that the bus sale revenue was in excess of $716,000. That's a net, approximate a net number. The board has yet to allocate these funds. The Finance Committee has recommended that the district participate in a utility savings program in which we'll check out our rates and make sure that everything that we're doing with utilities is most cost effective as possible. The surplus auction proceeds were in approximately $25,000 to the district. And that's the end of my report for the Finance Committee. Policy Committee, Mrs. Hackett.
We had a meeting of the Policy Committee this week, last week, sorry. And we have several policies that are for first reading today, and a few others where there was a minor change. They will be going for second reading later in the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Phillips is not here for property or the IU. So that brings us to 8.5, North Montclair Technical. Mrs. Woodring, do you have anything to report?
I've got a few things. Let's see, we just met last Monday evening over at the Career Center, and in addition to our routine business, we were introduced to their VOWS program, which is essentially an IU program that is facilitated through the Technical Career Center. There's approximately 20 students in the program, and this simply adds support, some exposure to a variety of career options. These students have some special educational needs. There are 10 in the morning and 10 in the afternoon. The total enrollment for this year stands at 1,029 at the Career Center. Methacton represents 137 students for a total of 13.3% of all those enrolled. There are 4 programs on probation with an evaluation planned to arrive at causal factors as to why they are under-enrolled. Oddly, construction carpentry is on probation, floral design and landscaping, HVAC, and welding fabrication. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Community liaisons, Mrs. Barone.
Thank you. I attend the September 4th meeting. They recognized outgoing student representative and 2014 Methacton graduate Cameron Jones for all of his service to the township. And I also wanted to mention that the township allowed the installation of lights on the Methacton Warriors football field, which is located directly across from the township building. That's it.
And I will then dovetail into Worcester with the next conditional use hearings on October 6th and possibly October 7th. And hopefully that will be the end of those. Moving on to curriculum liaison, Mrs. Hackett.
Thanks to Mrs. Katona. I have some information to give you. The first curriculum council meeting will be tomorrow. And at that, all of the leaders get together to summarize the summer curriculum writing, planning for continued curriculum focus, and reviewing the SLO process for teachers in the Methacton School District. There will be an in-service on October 8th, and Skyview is in the process of administering common benchmark assessments to all students in math, which will be used in connection with the pilot program that was established for this year. And the winter Keystone tests have been scheduled for the high school students who will be retaking one or more of the exams. And it will be our current 10th graders and those who come after them who will need those for graduation requirements.
Thank you very much. Education Foundation liaison, Mrs. Barone.
Thank you. I attended the September 10th meeting, and I just wanted to thank, I know they did leave, but I did want to say thank you to the foundation for the donation and the presentation of the $10,000 for our capital campaign. Thank you.
Home and School liaison, Mrs. Hackett.
Actually, I share this with Mrs. Woodring. I'll go first. I attended home and school meetings at Arrowhead and Skyview, where they're just getting things going this year. Unfortunately, the high school scheduled its home and school meeting the same night as the conditional use hearing, so I did not make it to the home and school meeting. They're off and running with programs. The Coordinating Council, which is our new corporation over all of the home and schools, hasn't had a meeting in probably about a month now, so I don't have anything further to report on that, except I know the insurance is going forward, which is a good big thing.
Okay, thank you. We're going to skip over
Yeah, I'll just add, I attended home and school meetings at Woodland and Worcester, and lots of good energy, everybody ready to go, willing to help. They were filling their final vacancies on their boards and looking for volunteers for their activities, trying to fill like lunchroom positions and the like, but generally speaking, off to a very good start, lots of positive energy. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Legislative liaison, Mr. Nascimento is not here. So we'll move on to technology liaison, that's myself. Okay, I got it, thank you. All right, technology report. The Methacton School District Bring Your Own Device Network is now up and running. It is now, they've unleashed the BYOD network for the Methacton school staff. The staff now have the ability to use privately owned electronic devices to support the current instructional and operational activities occurring in the school. Anticipated timeline for student use of these devices is in the third marking period. The acceptable use policy, upon return to school, the district staff members and guests were requested to acknowledge the revised board policy number 815, acceptable use of communications and information systems. This process was completed electronically this year by leveraging an application the district wrote and our secure network credentials. The intranet. The district's cabinet members have committed to building a knowledge organization here at Methacton. As such, we unveiled to the staff the Methacton intranet at our welcome back ceremony. The goal of the intranet is to build a single location that acts as a searchable repository that will maximize the district's collective knowledge, improve our communication, and distribution sharing of information. Thus far, all central office departments have developed their respective areas. The next step is to begin building each individual schools. Student logins. This year is the first time that all students grade 5 through 12 must utilize their district network login to access school computers. Thanks to a collaborative effort of the high school, Arcola and Skyview building principals, we were able to have those students re-register their network accounts and passwords for the 14-15 school year. We were able to streamline the process by using web-based applications we created in-house. And as I will add into that, having students who use this login, they are able to log in very successfully, but have a knack of forgetting to log out. So it's a little teaching thing we have to work on. Official Facebook page for Methacton School District. We are in the process of creating a Facebook page and procedures for the Methacton School District. Our goal is to leverage this social media platform to enhance our communications with the families and community of Methacton. We plan to post important news, events, and other information about our school district and the schools. Our timeline is to have it in place by the next board meeting. That ends my technology report. Federal Relations Network, Mrs. Woodring.
Yeah, I have a few things. I picked up reports from the National School Board Association on the 12th of September and again on the 19th. The reaffirmation and support for full funding for IDEA is something underway in both the House and the Senate. There is a 10-year plan for full funding. When this was first introduced in 1975, Congress promised 40% reimbursement for the average pupil, and at the current FY14 year, funding is at roughly 16%. Our own Senator Casey, among others, is co-sponsoring this bill. Another thing I mentioned last week, NSBA is conducting a survey, and we were asked to participate in the survey relative to child nutrition and poll us on how well we think it's working. So far, 30 states have responded, and NSBA is currently urging the Senate to bring its version of the Strengthening America's School Act to the floor for vote. The House passed its version of this same bill back in July, and this is essentially the reauthorization of the Elementary Secondary Education Act. And finally, this seems to be the season, the time of year when everybody gets in the let's rate a public school game or a public college or university. And NSBA has directed our attention to a website by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation called Leaders and Laggards. This is a state-by-state report card on K-12 education in each state, public education. So for Pennsylvania, there is some good news and there is some not so good news. There are 11 criteria or 11 variables on which we, as Pennsylvania, were rated. The good news is in academic achievement, we received an A. Student performance in Pennsylvania is very strong. 8th graders stand 8 and 7 percentage points above the national average. In, let's see, what's another good one here? Post-secondary and workforce readiness, we scored a B, which was pretty good. Pennsylvania earns a high grade preparing its students for college and careers. The state's high school graduation rate of 88% is one of the highest in the country. Then we get to some not so great news in terms of parental options, data quality. We rate a D. Their finding was that Pennsylvania earns a below average grade collecting and reporting high quality education data. Another not so great grade was in technology, F. Pennsylvania receives a very poor grade employing technology to provide quality instruction and personalized learning. Students have access to very few high-quality digital learning options, and the state's funding model is unreceptive to new digital options. We scored very high in international competitiveness with an A. That talks about our high rating preparing students to compete in a global economy. 37% students proficient in reading and math compared with an international standard. And finally, fiscal responsibility, we scored an F. Pennsylvania receives very low marks on fiscal responsibility. Only 64% of the state's pension is funded, and its most recent pension contribution was a paltry 43%. That's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Student board representatives.
The student board representatives have a couple announcements. The Methacton Marching Band placed first with the Hickingen Cavalcade in their division and won the best overall among all the bands. At the Downingtown Cavalcade, the Methacton Marching Band placed first in their division and won second overall among all the bands. The production of the school play, The Christmas Carol, is on its way. Auditions have occurred, and Ms. Welsh suggests that the outcomes of the play are predicted to be very positive. Her goal is to teach her students to develop into better people through her plays and hopefully teach the audience that despite adversities, there is hope. And now Sarah has a message of her own.
Thank you. Sports overall for Methacton are off to a great start. The strongest team with the highest winning percentage is the girls' tennis team. They're hoping for another Pac-10 title this year. In addition to these sports, a new sport-related club is starting at Methacton. It's the Powder Puff, which is for girls only, which is a modified football team that will be part of homecoming this year. Now, due to so much interest, it's only open to juniors and seniors, and I think that it's going to be a great addition to homecoming. Definitely a lot of kids are getting involved in it, and it's nice to see that. This past week, all the other clubs have begun as well, including for a second annual Minithon. The goal this year is to raise $30,000 for Minithon. Last year, they raised a little over $27,000, so we're reaching out for a bigger goal this year. And then right around the corner, we have the SATs on October 11th that Methacton will be hosting, and that is the end of our report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Communications, Mrs. Lynch.
Good evening. Good evening. During these early days of the school year, my communications efforts and the efforts of myself and my assistant are focused primarily on support and training. We work with faculty, staff, as well as our home and school in preparing their websites and communications planning for the upcoming school year. I also work with principals to develop strategies for the 2014-15 school year relative to their own communications efforts, including their websites, use of school messenger, building newsletters, and more. In other news, Methacton is supporting Representative Mike Verab's office. We will host an upcoming mental health awareness forum right here in the LGI tomorrow night. It'll begin at 6:30 p.m. In addition to providing support in the promotion of the forum in our community and among our families, Dr. Angstad and I have been working with representatives of the Southeast Regional Mental Health Services Coordination Office, as well as our counseling staff, to provide support for Mr. Verab's office in planning for the forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 8:15, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Zerbe.
I have just two announcements. One, we've been informed by the Pennsylvania Department of Education just this week that the school performance profiles were planned to be released on or about Wednesday of this week. However, I just received notice later this afternoon that that there will be a delay in those profiles being provided to the public. But I will make the board aware and the public aware when those school performance profiles are available to the public for view. The second announcement is I have in front of you for discussion and for your review both the board goals and the enrollment report as requested from the workshop meeting. That ends my report.
Thank you very much. Number 9, board meeting minutes. Let's see here. I have a motion to approve the board meeting minutes from the special meeting held on August 5th, 2014, and the combined work session and regular meetings held on August 19th, 2014. Second. Peter, second. Discussion? All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. 7-0. Fiscal items. Mr. Whiteleather.
Thank you. Items 10.1 through 10.7 were presented and discussed at our workshop meeting last week. Item 10.8, the bond refinancing, reflects the board's authorization to allow us to have our bond folks move forward with the potential refinancing of 2 of our bond issues to achieve overall savings to the district, estimated to be approximately $200,000. Providing the board would approve that this evening, Glenn Williard from PFM, as well as our bond counsel and other representatives from our financial folks, would be attending our October 28th meeting to bring to you all the documents necessary to proceed with this potential opportunity for us to save some dollars for the school district. And lastly, item 10.9, again, is an item for which board allowed us to put on for this evening for approval. Basically, what this is asking for is allow us to go out on the street with an RFQ for potential energy savings project for the school district, as presented and discussed for approximately 6 months off and on at this point. With this authorization, provided you grant it to us this evening, we would be moving forward with advertising and receiving proposals to move forward with a potential project. And that concludes my report.
I just want to add one piece of information to item 10.4, the Fields project bids. As requested, I believe it was from Mr. Pelicano at the workshop meeting regarding the extension of the dates. I ran the suggestion by the committee that's helping us prepare the bids, and they too agree that extending the time would be advantageous for us. So as we go through this approval, we would like to just make the dates known that the November 3rd date, which was the opening of the bid, would now be moved to November 13th. And that still means that there would be an October 1 release of the bid. And then lastly, October 23rd, which was when the questions were due from the bidders, will now be moved to November 3rd, allowing for more time for the responses.
Okay, good. Does anybody want to break these out in pieces?
Yeah. I guess I'm looking at 10.4, 10.7, 10.8, 10.9, I know that some of them have been commented on, but I'm thinking that all of them would have had to receive some discussion on a committee agenda, and wondering if the committee would make comment as to recommendations, or if we're supposed to perhaps assume that the committee has made recommendations already.
Okay. And you said 10.4 or?
4, 7, 8, and 9, I think. Well, 8, 7, maybe I don't know. That was the first, I guess I was looking at that renewal agreement. So I don't know if that went through finance or not.
I don't believe it did. Mr. You want to fill us in on that a little bit, the Brandywine Virtual Academy Agreement, or Dr. Zerbe?
Well, the Brandywine Virtual Academy Agreement is before you this evening, as it was during the workshop meeting. It's a contract that we have with Brandywine Virtual Academy to provide virtual education services for typically at-risk students. And certainly what that allows us to do is to help them, those students who are in jeopardy of not graduating or in jeopardy of not getting the sufficient credits in order to stay in line with their graduation, anticipated graduation date. So we use the virtual academy to catch those students up in par with their class. So that is what the Brandywine Virtual Academy, it's a combination of physical on-site with virtual instruction for the students.
Okay.
On that 10.7, I didn't see it. I don't know if the cost is shown someplace in the agreement.
The agreement refers to a schedule, and the schedule is being provided to the board as part of the overall agreement. I don't think the pay schedule was attached to the agreement originally.
No. Okay.
Is it similar to what we've been doing in the past?
This is similar to what we've been doing in the past. The issue, I think, before you as a board is that it's been brought to my attention that this is the first time that we've actually formalized an agreement to bring before the board for these services. These services were provided previously, but not under a formalized agreement. And there, as part of our process to make sure that we have all our ducks in order, we took the necessary steps to get this before you.
Okay. As I read the agreement, it looked like it was for 25 slots. That was a number that seemed to have been filled in, but I just felt it would be important to know what cost we're talking about to approve that.
Ms. Angstead, I know you're in the audience. Do you have an idea what the potential cost is? I don't have the agreement here in front of me.
I submitted the fee schedule that went with that to Donna this afternoon, so I know she was sending that out. We currently have 7 students enrolled in the program part-time, and 13 students are accessing that program as well. Another benefit of this program is it allows us to keep the students here in the district as opposed to having them going to a cyber charter school out of the district where we would lose funding for them. So we do some hybrid learning here, but I don't have the numbers off the top of my head for the cost.
So it's a pay-as-you-go type of situation.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So if a student is taking a course that may cost $400 for a particular course, so that keeps their credits up to date. Some students are using that program full-time as opposed to going to a cyber charter school, and they're actually coming into the high school and receiving that instruction here, and there's a teacher that supports that learning through a hybrid learning situation. It's about $400 for a course for a student to take the program.
For a full year? One course for a full year is $400?
No, they could take as many courses as they may need.
Well, yes, but each course is for a full year, $400.
Okay. So do we Go
Can I
ahead,
ask one
Kathleen.
question?
Yep.
If I'm reading this quickly, it says that each of the children get a laptop and a PowerPoint, but that the district is responsible for damage and any fees, insurance deductibles, et cetera. Is that normal, that we would do that? Is that a normal contract for one of these?
It is. And again, this is, many of the Montgomery County school districts participate in this particular program, and it allows us, as more or less as a consortium, to reduce our cost overall. So it is typical for these types of programs to have language in there.
Can I just say one other question? I mean, really like the idea of being able to keep these costs, down, the perspective of having these students go elsewhere. I mean, is this a model that could be taken even further to limit those students elsewhere going outside of this district?
Yes. And I believe our home and school visitor actually talks to the majority of families that are looking at cyber school programs and letting them know that we do offer this here in our district. We recently had another student who enrolled in the program. That student, their parents were thinking about sending her to an approved private school, and this was the option that they elected.
Okay. Good. Does anybody have any more questions regarding the fiscal items? Do we still want to break any of these out, or do we want to do them in one bunch?
Table this to see the cost. I would like to table this. I'd like to see the cost involved, since there aren't any attached.
Of 10-7 of the Brandywine agreement?
Mm-hmm. So you want to break that out from the list?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll pull that one out. We'll vote on that one separately, I guess. And how about any others? Does anybody? No? Okay. All right, then may I have a motion to approve fiscal list of items 10-1 through 10-9 with the exception of 10-7, which we'll be voting on next. May I have a motion to approve those? Greg? Second? Brenda? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, item number 10-7, the Brandywine Virtual Academy Agreement. May I have a motion to approve item number 10-7? Or are we going to just table that one? Or, I mean, what does the board want to do? We have it on the agenda as an item that we have to take action on tonight.
No.
I mean, I don't know.
Does somebody have to make a motion and second it, then we have discussion, or?
Yep, all right, I'll make the motion to approve item number 10-7. Motion to approve that?
Oh, second.
Did somebody, I'll motion to approve it. Craig, second? Okay, discussion?
Yeah. I guess I would like to see the costs that are involved first before I approve it. So I would like to table it, if that's possible. I don't know what the time frame is on this contract. When does it have to be signed? I mean, is there a time frame?
The time frame is now. Yeah, it was the start of the school year. Like I said earlier in our conversation, that when we were going through the operation and in Susan's transition, she discovered that there was no formal agreement in place for previous services. So Susan did what we asked her to do, was move forward with getting a formalized agreement before the board so that, we were proper and correct. Now, certainly, you should have the cost of the contract. The issue for us right now is, for whatever reason, the attachment of the scale did not, or the schedule did not go in with the agreement. But we can certainly have that and have those costs to you. But it would be important for you to approve that, since there is no change. And I believe we have it?
I have it on my laptop.
Can we share it? I mean, would that I just don't have it.
I can email it to the board, the same process as I did with the other one, and they can open it up if you desire.
Can you Can you bring it so I can see it?
I mean, I'd be willing to approve it based on Dr. Angstedt's recommendation that that it's approximately the 25 students and it's approximately $400 per course. I mean, if it's far from that, then
Yeah, the issue is, I mean, if we're talking about total cost, if these students were to go elsewhere, we would, what's our standard rate? It's about $14,000. So it's either $14,000 to educate the child or $400 a credit. And it allows us to customize the education for our children and to get them and keep them as Methacton graduates. And that's why, you know, so let's see, so per credit.
Well, can we ask how many classes do most of the children take, and that we could average that out?
Some may take 1, some may take 3. It depends on what their needs are.
If they're taking a full course load, 5 to 6.
Okay, so if we can use our own numbers.
So again, these are prescribed remedies to address individual childs. It's almost like having an IEP for each of these individual children that aren't special ed related. So for example, if credit recovery is typically what we use the program for, and in doing that, it's $335 per credit. A half a credit is $185, and a quarter of a credit is $102. If we take a look at if they were taking the full credit course, meaning they were in there for the whole year, it's $609 for the full credit course, not a course that's designed for credit recovery. Credit recovery would be a subsection of a course that would catch the child up in order to gain the mastery of that particular subject. So to give you a total cost, we're kind of almost giving you an estimate of saying, you know, at worst, we're going to say $609 times 25 might be, you know, the high end of this particular process, because we don't typically have more than, 1 or 2 courses per student going through this. And again, I do apologize for the schedule not being there. It was part of the original package. It did not get posted, and it will be posted tomorrow morning.
The students who are taking these courses are also full-time students here at Methacton?
They're Methacton students. Okay, any more discussion on 10.7? If not, I have a vote on 10.7 to approve the Brandywine Virtual Academy Agreement. All in favor? 7-0, approved. Okay, that brings us to number 11, personnel items. Mr. Harney.
We have one elimination of position and layoff for your approval this evening. We have one resignation administrative for your approval, 2 resignation classified. We have 10 employment classified for your approval. We have 1 change of status professional for your approval, 3 change of status classified. We're asking your approval on 2 uncompensated leave professionals this evening, 1 uncompensated leave classified. We also are asking your approval for 13 supplemental contracts this evening. We have 2 additions to our community education instructors list. We have 5 additions to our classified substitute list. We're asking your approval on the new list of volunteers. And we have 11 advisements this evening.
So we've got a bunch of things to approve. So I've got personnel items 11.1 through 11.16. Does anybody want to pull any of these out, or can we vote on all these in one shot?
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Are all the positions filled now? Everything within the district is filled? All the sports, all the mentors, all the supplemental contracts, all the positions?
I'm not going to speak to coaches because I know we had a recent loss of a coach that we thought we had on, but all other positions as far as support staff and teaching staff are filled.
Any other questions for Bob? Okay, may I have a motion then to approve under personnel items 11.1 through 11.16? Can I have a motion for that approval? Mr. McFarland? Second? Mr. Pellicano? All in favor? Okay, 7-0, approved.
Can I add something real quick? Just because I don't want to get all professional and support staff, but we're still pursuing an HVAC position for our facilities department. We're still pursuing a third special education supervisor. Those are all underway, and we're also pursuing the account specialist. So those three will still be coming before you, but all our professional staff and support staff are in.
Number 12, curriculum and programs. Mrs. Katona.
At last week's work session, the two gifts and donations were brought to you, as well as 12.2, the main exchange program for our COLA students to participate in again this year. And so we're asking for your approval.
Okay. So I have items number 12.1, the gifts and donations of those two items, and 12.2, the main exchange program. Can we vote on these together? Do I have a motion to accept items number 12.1 and 12.2? Mrs. Woodring, second. Mrs. Barone, all in favor? All approved, 7-0. Policy, Dr. Zerbe.
Before you, this evening, we have, under 13.1, we have three policies for first reading. We have policy 009, which is part of the review of board policies every 2 years. So that's the censure policy, and the recommendation of the committee is to eliminate that policy. Policy number 222, tobacco policy, that was recommended by, I believe, Ms. Woodring as part of her work on the North Munco Technical Board. Some of the changes that they made there and that we have before you is to bring vaporized and electronic cigarettes into the policies so that we clearly state that information. And policy 919, it's recommended by PSBA that the elimination of that policy, district school report cards, be approved. Again, those are first readings. And then all the other policies for second reading, except for number 6, that's 006.2, with the change as listed in that policy. And those were from recommendations from the board back to the committee and then back to the board for your consideration for this evening's approval. Are there any questions on any items from under 13.1 or 13.2?
I have a question on the report cards. PSBA recommends that we eliminate that policy. For what reason?
It's no longer required that districts provide what's called the district report card. The district report card started as a requirement under No Child Left Behind. As a result of the new reporting system called School Performance Profile, there is no longer a need for school districts to provide this type of report. So therefore, the reporting requirements are being handled by the Pennsylvania Department of Education rather than by the individual school districts.
So it's not in reference to the students' report cards, it's regarding the district.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that might be the confusion. It's a district report card that says, what the status of the district is in relationship to its overall performance, and not individual student performance report cards, as I can understand. I can understand that concern. But no, we're not getting rid of the student report cards.
Yeah, believe it or not, I did get a couple emails on that. Yes.
The students might like that.
But one of them was from a student. Mrs. Hackett.
One of the policies, policy 222, is called tobacco, and the committee's recommending that the title be changed to tobacco and related products.
We'll reflect that change in the next reading.
Okay. Anybody have any more questions on either 13.1 or 13.2? Okay, so we are going to, are we approving then the 13.2s? Okay, so we're going to approve the second readings of the policies. Policy 000, 001, 002, 004.1, 006.1, 006.2, 007, and 008. Do I have a motion to approve those 8 policies? Brenda. Kathleen, the second. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 7-0. Approved. Number 14, other, Dr. Zerby.
We're asking this evening for the board to authorize the authorization of the appropriate officers of the district to sign on behalf of the district the settlement agreement, the confidentiality of which has been court-ordered in the matter of Moloch versus Van Horn and Methacton School District. The settlement agreement calls for no funds to be paid by the district and concludes this matter of litigation.
Okay. And so are we going to approve number 14-1? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I would do that separately and then
Yep.
go on the board goals.
Okay. All right. So may I have a motion then to approve item number 14-1, the settlement agreement? Mr. Pellicano, second. Mrs. Woodring? Discussion? There really isn't none. All in favor? Approved, 7-0. Moving on to 14-2, board goals.
I provided a copy of the board goals in front of you this evening, and I'll turn it back over to Vice President.
Okay. We all got the list of the board goals here under education, operations, and finance, project, and capital. Why don't we do this? Why don't we, I'll put a motion out there to approve the board goals, then we'll either get and then we can put them up for discussion if we need to. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the board goals as listed here? Mr. McFarland and Mr. Pellicano, second. Okay, open up for discussion. Everybody speak at once.
If I may, I'll start. I'd just like to summarize the list which has been developed, which evolves from this meeting that was held on August 5th amongst the board in a public setting, and other informal discussions, including several discussions with Dr. Zerby as to the coordination of the accomplishment of these goals. And there is an unspoken, if you will, but there is a strategic overriding piece to this, which is the board's desire to understand clearly what lies ahead with regard to major financial issues, understand clearly where the expenses in the operating areas are, and to, once understanding that, to be able to communicate that to the voting public as to what is facing the district and some of the actions that might need to be considered after learning those things. So we can go through each of the goals, but that underlying thought is what is really supporting the reason behind these goals. And then finally, I would say that if the board does go ahead and approve these goals, it is recognized that as a follow-on to this, in some goals, there probably would need to be identified tactics as well as responsible parties, which are not assigned specifically here, but which, once approved, I think would be appropriate to assign. I would also, and finally, mention that all of these goals that we've mentioned have completion date targets so that all of us can expect to accomplish the tasks at hand in a time frame that makes them valuable to the task ahead.
Thank you very much. Well said. Does anybody have any other comments? What I would like to do is, I think maybe it'd be a good idea to read these goals out, just so that they're read into the public record. Okay. And in fact, what I'd like to do is have some board members help me with reading this, because my throat is starting to get a little worse. Brenda, would you take care of reading the educational goal for me, please?
I'd love to do that. The first is review the high school course offerings. Undertake a full review of the current course offerings and scheduling to examine details in the following areas. First, list of state-mandated graduation requirements and requirements outlined in Chapter 4 regulations by November 30th, 2014. Second, an assessment of course participation over the last 3 years shall be reviewed by the administration and shared with the board by January 30th, 2015. The top and bottom 20 subscribed courses shall be provided to the board no later than November 30th, 2014. And the third bullet is provide PSSA test score data to the board arranged by subject for all standardized tests taken in the 2013-14 school year by November 30th. I think that might be a typo. 2014. Yeah. And the second goal under education is in-year achievement. Each grade span, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, and 9 to 12, will improve from the 2012-2013 PSSA/Keystone scores by a cumulative 10% over the next 4 years.
Thank you very much. Kathleen, could you read the operations one for us, please?
Sure. Contingency plan. Develop a reverse priority plan to identify expenditure reductions totaling 5% of the fiscal 2014-2015 operating budget to be used in consideration as we address the 2015-2016 operating budget and have that completed by December 1st, 2014. 2 would be our communications internal. The board would benefit from an increased and structured internal communication process. A monthly review of prior month costs and expenditures, specific updates on status and curriculum development, outstanding and new litigation, student-related issues, school building updates, etc. The action would be to create the list of potential topics by November 1st, 2014, and initiate by December 1st, 2014. Communication external. The board and the district would be well served by offering increased and regular communication documents to the public on key issues facing the district. This could be an electronic newsletter or a website page. Final format to be determined. Facts and projected schedules about significant cost areas such as retirement funding, benefit costs, athletic fields, and other significant issues before the board could be presented in a non-editorial format. Some difficult board issues might be better understood and received. This should be initiated by November 30th, 2014. Third would be contract and agreement planning. Complete a full review and analysis of all employee and subcontracted services and agreements. Administration will provide a complete review and comparison for the board to indicate common and contrasting components between each. Completion by December 31st, 2015.
Thank you. Greg, would you read the finance goals for us? Thank you.
Certainly, but should that last completion be 14, or is that supposed to be 15?
That should be 14. 2014. I apologize, that is a typo here.
That's okay. So under finance, we have 3 different items. The first one is increase fund balance. Develop a 5-year schedule to increase the fund balance annually with a final resulting fund balance no less than 7% of the operating budget. Number 2, identify mandated increased costs driven by step and salary increases, PSERS payments, and other required payments, such as things like bond payments, special education, etc., for each of the next 3 school years. Develop a contingency plan to absorb these costs without a tax increase. List of increased costs scheduled, like that completion date by November 30th, 2014. And the contingency plan for absorption, completion of that by February 28th, 2015. And the third item, identify new expenditure reduction measures. Determine a universe of possible determine a universe of possible expenditure reductions to include discretionary spending, non-mandated programs, outsourcing, staffing, supplies, equipment, professional services, etc., options and associated cost savings, and completion of this by December 30th, 2014.
Thank you very much. Kim, could you read projects and capital for us, please?
Sure. Projects and capital, Fields project number 1, offer and accept bids for the Methacton High School field renovation project with substantial completion, payability by August 15, 2015. Number 2, student enrollment study, obtain and assess the results of the reported outlook in student enrollment for the next 10 years, completion by December 18, 2014.
Great, thank you very much. Do I have any other discussion on the board goals?
If I may, I would just like to comment that while some of these in first reading, and especially when you're just hearing them, things like the contingency plan, there is no intent by this board or by this goal to predetermine some type of cost cutting. We are merely trying to determine and understand better where the expenses are. And I just didn't want anyone to miss. Contingency plan is sometimes used in a different way. And the contingency plan here is an effort to better understand where the expenses are so that we can have a more rational discussion as we form the next budget with the challenges that lie in there.
Yes, agreed. Okay. Anybody have anything else they'd like to contribute?
First of all, I want to thank those who worked on this. I think that it's a great start for us to accomplish some things that we've been struggling with for a while. I draw attention to operations item 2B, and I'm just wondering if we could tweak that just a little bit. It seems like that is all sort of electronic posting documents, and we had talked about in the past perhaps scheduling like community sort of coffee hours or I don't know what else you would call them, just sort of little forums so that we would actually get to the schools, perhaps as a board, and have an interactive maybe hour and a half so that we could meet and discuss maybe more local issues. So I guess I would just wonder if we could work that in there somehow, or how the rest of the board feels about that.
Or perhaps interject in that, after or website page, final format to determined, you could add something in there through other things like small group meetings, community meetings, or something like that. Maybe somebody who has better wording than I could put something in there. I think that's a good point, though, because we have talked about that on several occasions. So, what do you guys think? Yeah. Okay. So we'll add some wording into that specific one under operations 2B. Okay. All right, very good. Yes.
It's an ambitious list. We intended it to be ambitious. I think we've covered most of the areas that are very important to us at this point. I'm supportive of this set of goals.
Yeah, I will also chime in there that as being, I guess, the senior board member on the board here, because since Christian and Jim are out here, I've not ever seen a document like this come across this board since I've been on here, and I think it's excellent. And I want to thank everyone that contributed to this. I think everybody put a piece into this, and they're very, very ambitious goals. But none of them I don't think that we can achieve. I think they're all doable. It's going to require a lot of work and a lot of thinking on our parts, creative thinking on how to achieve all these. But I think they'll be well done, especially with the communications and also with the fund balance. That was one that I've been really trying to get on for a long, long time. Greg, you have something to say?
I'd just like to second what Peter mentioned about the cost cutting. This isn't, even though at first blush may look it like that, it's not necessarily meant to be that way. And as you look, education we have front and center as our, number one on the goal list here. So, any review there is intended to improve the overall course offerings as a whole, not necessarily cut things. At least that's my view.
Excellent point. Okay. If we have no other further comments, I'd like to put this to a vote, that we would accept the board goals, approve the goals established by the Board of School Directors as listed here. All in favor? Approved, 7-0. Item number 14.3, the faculty facility/property naming rights guidelines for the field renovation project. Dr. Zerbe.
I'm asking that you approve the administration to use the attached guidelines and schedule for the purpose of providing naming right opportunities for donors as part of the Methacton High School Field Renovation Project fundraising efforts. We had conversations about this at the work session meeting. I provided a document before you this evening on that particular issue. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have one. Has our solicitor reviewed this document before we vote on this?
The details outlined in the document were provided to me by the solicitor as a matter of building it. So, yes.
Just a clarification. The reading of the document gave me the strong impression that the board has final say on virtually any of the offered items before they are actually agreed to. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not looking at it right now, but I was a little confused. I thought bleachers was in there like twice, and I guess thank you.
On the schedule?
Yeah, on the schedule. I mean, it appears...
Yeah, there's a section, there says multi-purpose field bleachers, and then it says bleacher sections.
Well, it says bleachers up top, then it says multi-purpose bleachers, bleacher sections, bleacher row.
So the bleachers would be the naming of the visitor or the home bleacher
Like the
portion.
whole...
Right.
Like that whole section.
And then the multi-purpose field bleachers would be actually a name and a purchase. Under the current plan, we don't have bleachers defined in the bidding process for the multi-purpose. Although there's an area for bleachers, we do not have that in the bid. So that would be for the purchase and naming. And then bleacher sections would be for the stadium only, where we have the bleacher, where the only bleachers actually exist.
Like
Yeah, the
they're
sections.
divided, okay.
Right.
And then the rows, down there near the bottom, that's just going to be like one row in one section.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions or regarding this one? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve item number 14.3, the facility property naming rights guidelines for the field renovation project. May I have a motion? Peter, second. Maria? Discussion? All in favor? 7-0, approved. Okay, number 15, dates for board members' calendars.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
if I may, would we like to entertain an item 14.4, which was discussed at the Finance Committee earlier this evening, in order to provide the requester, Cornerstone Fellowship Church, an answer sooner rather than later, which might take us to an October meeting. Do you think that the Finance Committee is prepared to make a recommendation this evening?
Based on our discussions, I believe we are. There was a consensus at the Finance Committee earlier on regarding that decision. Since the members are present, does the Finance Committee have any objection to that?
No, it's fine.
Okay, then you may proceed adding on to 14.4.
So the motion should read that to approve the just bear with me one second. The recommendation will be that, and the request for the record is that there was a real estate tax exemption request from Cornerstone Fellowship Church that reflects an exemption amount request back to December 21st of 2012. The exemption for the property was not official until January 1st of 2014. The request is for the forgiveness of the previous tax amount paid by the requester of $32,695.22, in addition to their request to exempt them from paying their current liability of $32,302.70. It is the recommendation of the committee that we do not grant an exemption back further than its original start date, which would mean that not only would the taxes currently paid, and it would also mean that the church would be required to fulfill the tax agreements currently on the books.
So basically, as I understand it, then, you're essentially forgiving the fact that they did not file for the exemption for 2014.
That would be correct.
No. We are granting exemption back to January 1st, 2014, so the church would owe the district
Still be an outstanding debt.
Right.
What I'm suggesting is that they would owe what they owed for 2013, but they did not file the exemption timely for 2014. So in essentially granting them the exemption for 2014, you're giving them the benefit as though they had filed the exemption properly for tax year 2014. Do I understand that correctly? I'm reading from your alternative C, grant exemption back to January 1, 2014. In this case, the church would owe the district $32,302.70, which was the amount for 2013.
I think the issue is that the county has approved it as of January 1st, 2014. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and they're asking us for a special retroactive forgiveness.
Exemption. Yeah.
Okay, so we are not granting them anything.
We are not granting
Really?
them any, so we would deny their request.
Yes.
As per their recommendation.
Oh, my mistake. I thought that they had missed the file deadline for 2014.
So the recommendation is that the board approves the denial of the request by Cornerstone Fellowship Church.
And the request is for the year 2013, correct? That's the request that they put in for forgiveness against that.
I think it's 12-13.
12 and 13. But not 14. They are exempt for 14.
That is correct. And will be exempt thereafter.
So could I make the motion that we deny the request of Cornerstone Church for a retroactive forgiveness of prior taxes?
Is that okay? Okay, so you're making that motion? Do I have a second? Mrs. Woodring? Discussion? I'm going to actually vote against this because I'm in the favor that, personally, I hate red tape. I can't stand it. I understand there are filing deadlines, they missed deadlines, and they were exempt. However, it's my feeling that we should extend as many breaks to organizations that clearly are out to do good for the community as much as possible. I feel that the money they would pay into the school district, yes, the district could use the money, but in a nearly $100 million budget, $32,000 is a drop in the bucket. I feel that the church should be exempt from this going retroactively, that we would actually grant exemption back to July 2013. In that case, the district would owe the church nothing, and the church would owe us nothing. It would be a 0-0 wash. I did try to relay that through the Finance Committee, but the committee decided otherwise, and that's fine. That's just my personal opinion, and I will be voting against it. However, the motion has been made and has been seconded, so will I have a vote, please, on that motion? All in favor? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And against? Myself. So it'll be a 6-1 vote. Okay. Dates for board members' calendars. We have October 7th, 2014 Policy Committee meeting in Farina at 9 a.m. October 14th, the Finance Committee meeting at Farina beginning at 6:15. October 20th will be the Property Committee meeting at the Farina building at 7:30 in the morning. October 21st, Finance Committee meeting beginning at 6:15. October 21st, Board Work Session at 7 p.m. here at the LGI. And by the way, that Finance Committee meeting on the 21st will be here in the LGI. October 28th, regular board meeting beginning at 7 p.m. here in the LGI. So with that, I will move on to number 16, old business. Do we have any old business?
I just have one item. I'm still able to collect the policy surveys that I handed out at the work session. So if anybody has the survey, please hand it in at the end of the meeting to me. Thank you.
I turned mine in. Any more old business, my board members? New business. Any new business? How are things going with first student? Pretty good? Okay. Buses coming in? New buses coming in? Do we get any new buses yet?
Yeah, we have four new buses.
I've been seeing some rolling around the district. They look pretty good.
We know of 4 new buses at this point.
Right, they have 4 new buses that are in. They have ones that are order. I want to say that the partial is going to be here in the next couple of weeks with the balance by the end of next month.
Okay.
The 41 buses in total will be brand new for 14-15.
Very good. Okay. Any other new business? Okay, number 18, courtesy of the floor. Do we have any courtesy of the floors? Mr. Andrews.
John Andrews, Lower Providence. Just wanted to note that when I saw the big crowd here this evening, I thought it was all related to the Fields project, but it was in fact related to something else, a good thing, the awards to the students in grade 9 last year. With regard to the goals document that was just discussed, will that be made available to the public shortly? You read a lot of it into the record.
Sure, I would imagine we could probably post it on the...
I think the intent is once all the verbiage is finalized, we will post it to the website under the board section.
Right. Thank you.
Any other courtesy of the floor? Yes.
Joe Bickelman, Audubon. I'd like to congratulate the board on setting the goals. They sound like some lofty goals, and it will be good for the school district. I saw that there's a resignation of the supervisor of transportation, and I would just ask the board or the administration to review the current job description and look at it in relation to the outsourcing of the transportation that went on, and maybe go down the list of the job description and line out the items that don't apply to the position anymore as you go forward to replace, if you're going to replace the position. I asked a question last month about the dollar checks that were on the board, the bills list for water bottle reimbursements. Is there an answer to that question?
This is courtesy of the floor. If you have questions, bring it up at the questions part. Okay, thank you.
What item? That was from last month. And then-
We have an answer for you on that. I communicated that with the board. I had noted that that was a question from a board member, but if you have that question as well, you'll get an email response on that.
And the other item is the board is searching for an account specialist, and I would ask the board or the administration to look at the current job description for the person that works as Mr. Whiteleather's assistant right now, and the job description for the position as you move forward to think about hiring a person like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or responses to questions? Do we have any? No? Any questions? Okay. If that's it, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Move a motion. Brenda, second. Kim, all in favor? Okay, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.